Hi there. What if I told you that one of the loudest cheers at this year's World Cup so far hasn't been for a goal, but against an African team? Think about that for a moment. Not England against Argentina. Not Brazil against Germany. Not one of football's famous rivalries. No, this time the target was South Africa. Across social media, thousands of Africans openly declared they would support Mexico over South Africa. Others posted videos celebrating every Mexican attack. Some even urged fellow Africans to cheer against South Africa throughout the tournament, not because of football, but because of something much deeper: xenophobia. At first glance, it seems unbelievable. How could fellow Africans root against one of Africa's own on the biggest sporting stage in the world? Has continental solidarity collapsed? Has Pan-Africanism become little more than a slogan? Or is this the consequence of wounds that have never truly healed? Because this story isn't really about football. It's about memory. It's about betrayal. It's about migration. It's about economics. And perhaps most importantly, it's about an uncomfortable question that millions of Africans are beginning to ask. What does it really mean to call ourselves one Africa? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never look at this controversy or Africa in quite the same way. For decades, South Africa occupied a special place in the African imagination. Long before apartheid ended, countless African countries sacrificed to support the liberation struggle. Some hosted exiles. Others trained freedom fighters. Ordinary citizens donated money they could barely afford. Governments imposed sanctions and paid economic and diplomatic costs in solidarity with those fighting racial oppression. The victory over apartheid wasn't seen as South Africa's triumph alone. It was celebrated as Africa's victory. It symbolized hope that the continent could overcome even its darkest chapters. When Nelson Mandela walked free from prison, millions of Africans celebrated as though a member of their own family had come home. That emotional investment mattered. Many Africans believed South Africa would become a beacon for the continent, economically powerful, politically influential, and deeply committed to African unity. For a time, that dream seemed within reach. South Africa developed some of the continent's most advanced infrastructure, financial institutions, universities, and industries. It attracted workers, students, entrepreneurs, and professionals from across Africa. Nigerians opened businesses. Zimbabweans sought work. Congolese traders built livelihoods. Somalis established shops. Ethiopians, Malawians, Mozambicans, Ghanaians, Kenyans, people from nearly every corner of the continent saw opportunity there. Migration itself wasn't unusual. People have always moved toward opportunity. The same thing happens in Europe. The same thing happens in North America. The same thing happens within African countries. Where there are jobs, people move. Where there is stability, families relocate. Where there is hope, human beings follow. But hope can be a fragile thing. Over the years, South Africa experienced periods of economic hardship, unemployment, inequality, and social frustration. Those challenges affected South Africans first and foremost. Yet, in moments of strain, immigrants often became easy targets for public anger. This is not unique to South Africa. History is filled with examples of migrants becoming convenient scapegoats during difficult economic times. We've seen similar debates in Europe. We've seen them in the United States. We've seen them in Asia. Fear has a habit of searching for someone to blame. And immigrants, especially visible immigrant communities, often become the easiest targets. In South Africa, Several outbreaks of violence against foreign nationals shocked the continent. Businesses were looted, lives were lost, families fled. Disturbing images circulated across television screens and later across social media, leaving lasting impressions on millions of Africans. For many outside South Africa, those images became impossible to forget. Each new incident reinforced a painful narrative that fellow Africans who had once celebrated South Africa's freedom were now being rejected within its borders. Whether that perception fully captures the complexity of South African society is another question entirely. Many South Africans have condemned xenophobic violence. Many have protected foreign-owned businesses. Many have spoken out courageously against hatred. Civil society organizations, religious leaders, and community groups have repeatedly worked to ease tensions and support victims. It would therefore be inaccurate and unfair to suggest that every South African shares xenophobic attitudes. No nation is a single voice. No society speaks with one opinion. Yet public perception rarely waits for nuance. Human beings remember emotion more vividly than explanation. One horrifying image can outweigh 100 peaceful interactions. One viral video can shape opinions for years. That is the power and danger of collective memory. Which brings us back to the World Cup. When social media users encouraged Africans to support Mexico over South Africa, many observers dismissed it as ordinary online trolling. But was it? Or was football simply becoming the latest stage on which unresolved grievances were being expressed? Sport has never existed in isolation. The Olympic Games have reflected political rivalries. Cricket has mirrored diplomatic tensions. Rugby once symbolized division and later reconciliation in South Africa itself. Football has long served as a language through which societies express pride, frustration, hope, and protest. Sometimes the loudest political statement is not made in Parliament. Sometimes it echoes from the terraces of a stadium or trends beneath a hashtag. Yet before we rush to judge either side, we need to ask a more difficult question. Is this really a story about South Africa alone? Or is South Africa simply the mirror reflecting challenges that exist across the entire continent? Because the uncomfortable truth is that migration tensions are not unique to one country. Across Africa, disputes occasionally arise between host communities and migrant populations. Economic competition, housing shortages, unemployment, and pressure on public services can create resentment almost anywhere if governments fail to manage them effectively. So why has South Africa become the symbol of this conversation? The answer lies partly in expectations. South Africa is not judged only by its present. It is judged by its history, by Mandela, by the anti-apartheid struggle, by the sacrifices other African nations made in pursuit of its freedom. When expectations are high, disappointment cuts deeper. When a friend hurts you, the pain feels different from when a stranger does. Perhaps that explains why the emotions surrounding this debate remain so intense. But there is another layer to this story, one that has little to do with history and everything to do with economics. Because behind almost every conversation about immigration lies a far older question. Who gets the opportunity? And who gets left behind? That question may explain more about this controversy than football ever could.